Saving lives through early detection of heart disease and hundreds of different cancers. Sounds nice, right? Well, Frankie Maldonado, Director of Operations of LifeGuard Imaging, is making that happen through patient scans. And we are glad to welcome Frankie into the studio today. It's good to see you again.
It's good to see you too, Natalie.
So let's go back, Frankie. The last time you and I were together, I actually had the opportunity to get inside one of the scans myself. You look very official. I mean, we're holding a folder. We've got the results. You asked if I was okay going on air with it because you're able to learn so much from these scans that I welcomed it. I hope that was the right answer.
Well, you're brave just because you're willing to hear it for the first time. So I'll go through this with you. And we already know you have a perfect 0 calcium score. And when it comes to your full body, there's a couple of things that were noted. One of them is something that's called a synovial herniation in the pit in the anterior femoral head-neck junction on the right. This is speaking about your hip region.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you've had any discomfort there. It's nothing that is of serious concern, but there might be some symptoms of what they're seeing that could eventually be an impingement of some kind. We're going to keep an eye on that moving forward, but they notice that little herniation there.
Okay.
There's also something called a small non-obstructing right renal calculus, which is a kidney stone. Now,
oh,
it is,
no,
I know.
Frankie, didn't think we were going kidney stones.
Sorry, but there could be a lot worse. But no, more importantly, and I made sure I checked with our certified CT technologist about this, it doesn't really present a problem until it starts to move, if it does move. And if that's the case, we'll deal with it. But this, again, will be something we'll keep an eye on. The very last thing, there are only 3 final impressions of a complete observation that says small non-calcified nodule in the right middle lobe. It's a lung radical category 2. Now, I as well had something called a lung radical category 2. I think I might have mentioned that.
You did.
It's something that for me was occurring because of a pneumonia I had about 5 or 6 years prior. So this could be the result of some sort of an illness you had or some sort of a lung infection. One thing that our doctors said is they're going to do a follow-up study of evaluation in 12 months, which you'll do anyway. We'll do your annual scans, and they'll just keep an eye on that to make sure it's not something more serious. When it's in this case, I've yet to see it ever be anything serious, but again, it's being captured early enough that they say in 12 months we'll have an observation to make sure everything's okay.
Just hearing you kind of wrap up, and yes, I've had kidney stones before, so that unfortunately is something that I'm not surprised in hearing. But being able to, one, know there's a kidney stone, but know those other things. And like you just said, talking about those yearly scans, this gives me an idea before I have any symptoms on things, whether we're talking hip or anything. And that's what you're able to do for so many of your patients.
That's it. That's it right there, is giving the insight, giving the observation of something that could eventually be something that could hurt you, something that could be dangerous. Now, nothing there looks to be potentially dangerous. We'll keep an eye on that lung radical category 2, but other things like you've had the kidney stones, to understand that that's something that could be painful for you down the line. It'll be observed, we'll monitor that, and more importantly, make sure that moving forward, nothing new comes into play.
It's interesting. Obviously, I got personal, doing this segment with Frankie and have, got to know you. I know all of this, though, is personal. And I've been able to talk with you before about the passion behind it. And if you don't mind sharing again with people, because I think that really illustrates who you are and what LifeGuard Imaging is all about.
Yeah, unfortunately, 23 years ago, in January of 1998, my father, who was a well-renowned doctor up in the Maryland, D.C. area where I'm originally from, had just returned from a vacation with my mother and didn't describe what he felt as pain, but he said something didn't feel right in a portion of his abdomen, consistent with where the pancreas is. And I always say that people who weren't medically inclined probably would have thought it was a cramp, it was indigestion, nothing to be concerned about. We play those little subtle hurts off every day. But my dad, being a scientific mind, said, I'm going to get this checked out. He knows how deadly the pancreas diseases could be. So his chief of staff at his hospital went to his chief of radiology, said, take some pictures, tell me what's going on. And they traditionally would take a thicker slice scan. So the images were produced in thick slices. He came out, they said, you're fine, Dr. Maldonado. And my dad was literally praising God, thought he dodged a bullet. Well, those thick slices can produce gaps in what's visible and what's not. And tragically, one of those gaps was on the tail of his pancreas where the head of the cancer was, and they never saw it. 10 months later, on November 3rd, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and gone 6 weeks and a couple days later. A horrible experience.
And your dad, of course, hangs so proudly in your office when I was able to, spend some time with you. And again, just hearing that and hearing how these scans are from a preventative side of things, do the yearly follow-ups. I'm going to be doing mine. Frankie, will you come back and talk with us more about this?
I would love to, and I appreciate you having me, Natalie.
You bet. And as always, we've got the information on our website, also lifeguardimaging.com. And before we wrap, you do have a special offer, though, again, right?
Yes. Yes, we are going to offer for all of your viewers, anybody who mentions you, and of course, the Morning Blend is going to get a complimentary heart scan, but we want people to take action. Don't put it off, because obviously we always say the sooner we get a full body scan for a patient, the better our chances of capturing something early. So if they mention you, we got it covered.